All right, guys, we're going to start the show soon. Do me a favor, take a look at the screen for today's headlines. Take a look at the screen for today's headlines and let us know which headline you find most compelling today. Judah, I'm going to ask you the question I asked you before, right at the top of every show. Which headline is most compelling to you and why? There's another Lewis Mountain home that's hit the market. Another home in Lewis Mountain, the Lewis Mountain neighborhood, has now been listed for sale. We'll talk about this home. We mentioned to you, we think this neighborhood is going to have an abundance of listings over the next 6 to 12 months. So far, the crystal ball has been accurate. We'll talk Stefan Friedman and ask this question. Is this venture capitalist now the most impactful and influential restaurateur in the greater Charlottesville, Virginia area with 6 F&B brands under his influence and control? We'll talk on today's program Anthony Calandria, named the starting quarterback at the University of Virginia. And we'll highlight some fantastic analysis from Citizens for Responsible Planning. Citizens for Responsible Planning is a lobbying group that is the antithesis or the exact opposite of the other lobbying group that's impactful in this community, Livable Charlottesville. Judah and I are going to ask this question. Who is correct? Or maybe this is a better question. Who is most correct with their mission? Citizens for Responsible Planning or Livable Charlottesville? All those topics and more on what we hope is the water cooler of conversation in Charlottesville and Central Virginia. It's the I Love CVille show. If you noticed on Friday, we broke the news about Fox Fields being purchased by a nonprofit. And about 8 hours after we broke that news, including with the trustee of the nonprofit live on the show, the legacy media, print, radio, and television also reported said news. Give the show a like and a share. Judah Wickower, how are you feeling over there? It's a Monday. It's your favorite day of the week.
Oh, sure.
It's my favorite day of the week. Is it not your favorite day of the week, J-Dubs?
I'd say it...
How would you stack it up in favorite days of the week? Is it your least favorite?
It's pretty close to the least favorite.
There's only 7. Which is your favorite and which is your least favorite? Is Friday your favorite or is Saturday your favorite?
It's a tough one. Friday or Saturday. I'd say they're a toss-up.
My most favorite day of the week, you know what it is?
Didn't you already say it was Monday?
It's Monday. Monday is my most favorite day of the week. A lot to cover on today's program, ladies and gentlemen. A lot to cover on the show. All right, Judah Wickower, we can rock and roll when you're ready.
Quiet on the set.
Good Monday afternoon, guys. I'm Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on the I Love CVille show. Fantastic to connect with you through the I Love CVille network, a show that airs live on all social media and podcasting platforms. We're grateful for your viewership and your listenership on this Monday afternoon. There's a lot to cover on the program. I encourage you, the viewer and listener, to take a look at the screen on the topics we'll cover today. I'm going to relay a turn of events that I witnessed today on the downtown mall. I get to downtown Charlottesville after dropping our oldest off at school, so I arrive roughly about 7:50 in the morning to our building on Market Street. Check email, think about work ahead. We have a bench press and some free weights in the studio. Like to get about 15 or 20 minutes of workout in prior to starting the day. Turn CNBC on the television on in the studio, read probably 8 to 10 media outlets from global coverage all the way down to local coverage. And then I get out of the studio and walk from the grocery store on Market Street where our studio is located, we're right next door, to the Omni Hotel and back. That's been my routine for a decade plus while working downtown. I'll relay some perspective that I saw today. We'll also talk on today's program. This will be the lead topic of the show. The organization Citizens for Responsible Planning has some fantastic analysis out today on data as it pertains to jobs and wages in the city of Charlottesville in comparison with Albemarle County. Judah, in about 60 seconds, I'm going to ask you which headline or storyline you find most compelling. We're also on today's program going to ask this question. Is Stefan Friedman now the most influential and impactful restaurateur or food and beverage virtuoso in the greater Charlottesville area? This gentleman has 6 F&B brands and growing under his purview. That topic is going to be a good one. We're going to talk on today's program. Anthony Calandria named the starting quarterback of the University of Virginia. And we're going to talk about the University of Virginia updating its freedom of speech rules and regulations for students with the school year now underway today. The show is loaded. We want to highlight 2 partners that we're proud to connect with on this show. Mexicali Restaurant on West Main Street, Johnny Ornalis, River Hawkins, the men behind Mexicali in the Old World of Beer location. Judah's been there. I've been there. The restaurant is unmatched in the city, and it's unmatched from an artwork standpoint. It's unmatched from a cuisine, cocktail, and nightlife and vibe standpoint. It's in the Old World of Beer location. There's parking all over West Main Street, and there's 50 free spaces right below the building, the Flats, which just celebrated its 10-year anniversary. Corn Capshaw and Riverbend Development made the Flats possible. They made a killing selling the Flats to an out-of-market owner, and the flagship tenant in this apartment tower is a locally owned and operated fusion California style food, Mexican style food called Mexicali, and I very much encourage you to give it a try. I think you're going to be impressed. I also want to give some attention to our friends at Pro Renata, who've converted their Crozet location to a sports bar. They're brewing their beer in the old Skipping Rock location in the Shenandoah Valley, and they're doing real estate development, music venue development, bar and brewery development over in downtown Stanton. John Shabe and his team at Pro Renata, amazing things happening over there. Judah Wickower, let's weave you in on a 2-shot. I issue the same question every day to start a program. What is the most compelling headline for you today on the Monday, August 26th edition of the I Love CVille show, the last Monday in August in 2024?
I'm fascinated by by the Citizens for Responsible Planning. I'm fascinated with the data, and I think it shows some interesting trends going on in our city and county.
Which elements most intrigued you? And I'm going to share the link to their analysis, recent analysis that they published on their website here shortly. What intrigued you the most?
It's just, this guy is...
It's a group?
The group doing this is obviously on point, and I think the conclusions they come to are worth studying.
Such as?
Such as the changes in jobs in the last 4 years.
That's what we're looking for.
There's a lot to unpack here.
Which is, the idea of the talk show. We're going to unpack these elements. So changes in jobs, wages, we're going to talk about where those are going, and as it applies to economic development strategy and as it applies to housing. What I'm going to do on today's show is I'm going to take the link that was published over the weekend on the Citizen for Responsible Planning website, and I'm going to share this link, ladies and gentlemen, on a number of social media pages. You set the stage, Judah, as I share this link for this storyline, and then I'll respond and react, because I'm eager to talk about this.
The article that we've been looking at, a look at the city and county jobs data, takes a look at the zoning, takes a look at a lot of the census data, and makes some very interesting conclusions about what's going on, where the jobs are going, what jobs are sticky to Charlottesville, and what jobs are not. It takes a look at things like where people are moving, and ultimately make some statements about what is necessary for our area, and what we could be doing differently in terms of what we've been doing with zoning, and the jobs that we should be focusing on in terms of who's coming into the city or not coming into the city.
I'm going to jump in here. I've shared the link for what was published over the weekend through their newsletter on my personal Facebook page. It's in the comment sections of my personal Facebook page if you want to read it. It's in the I Love Cville comment section. It's in the I Love Cville group comment section. I'm going to share it on I Love Cville Foods comment section. I'll share this on the LinkedIn comment section, the Twitter thread of this show, and on the YouTube comment section of this show. Here's essentially what the Citizens for Responsible Planning group has concluded. And before I offer their conclusion, I want to give you some background on the group from their About page. Citizens for Responsible Planning is a group of Charlottesville residents who came together in 2021 out of a concern that the housing chapter and future land use map of the city's draft comprehensive plan had serious flaws of both process and content. Citizens for Responsible Planning believes that a plan that is not grounded in an inclusive, data-driven, and analytically sound process risks failing to produce affordable housing while inflicting collateral damage on the city. Citizens for Responsible Planning has prepared a series of presentations and research articles that provide in-depth analysis of Charlottesville's housing situation and the future land use map. Now it's the new zoning ordinance. They welcome any feedback. You can find them online at crp-cville.org. I'll give it to you again, crp-cville.org. Again, I shared this weekend's analysis in the comment section on the primary pages the show is airing upon. I want to offer a perspective of what I witnessed today on the downtown mall. As I left the studio in the 8:45, 8:50, 9 o'clock time frame this morning, I walk, as I always do, from the post office to the Omni Hotel. As I was turning the corner around the post office, I was stopped by a panhandler who said, "Hey, do you have any money you can give me?" I said, "No, I don't carry any money. I never have any money on me. I never have money on me." He said, "Follow me to CVS and buy me a beer." I said, "Sir, it's 8:50 in the morning. I'm not going to buy you a beer at 8:50 in the morning." He said, "Follow me to CVS and buy me 2 beers, and I'll save them both for later." I said, "Sir, I'm not going to do that, but I appreciate your hustle and I appreciate your chutzpah." Then he walked side by side with me up most of the mall. We turned the corner, and I was walking down the mall. He stopped the gentleman who was panhandling outside CVS. The gentleman who was panhandling outside CVS on the downtown mall is a fixture at this particular location, and he had a plastic container, like a mini plastic jug in his hands, and it was filled with change, silver change, quarters, nickels, and dimes. The gentleman who asked me to give him some money and then asked me to buy him a tall boy, then asked me to buy him 2 tall boys, then asked the guy who was panhandling outside the CVS, "Hey, can I have some money?" The guy who was panhandling outside CVS barked at him, snapped at him, yelled at him, "No, I'm not going to give you any effing money, you effing moocher." I'm witnessing this firsthand. A man who's panhandling outside CVS barks and belittles another panhandler who's walking up and down the downtown mall with the CVS panhandler calling the aggressive panhandler a moocher. The entire situation took me aback. It took me aback because it made me uncomfortable, and it took me aback because we had a panhandler who asked people for money, belittling another panhandler with the term moocher. I found it all very ironic. This, I felt, a microcosm for much of where Charlottesville is today. You look whether on Market Street Park, you look on the downtown mall, you look in street medians all over the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County, and you have some consistent denominators. And those consistent denominators are folks houseless, panhandling, and a large portion of the times intrusively impacting quality of life. We have a front row seat of that in downtown Charlottesville. We're left with this question: how did we get to this position as a city? It was not nearly this level of impact prior to COVID. Before the pandemic, there was few, if any, houseless around the city, few, if any, camping, living on the mall, around the mall, or aggressively panhandling in downtown Charlottesville. We clearly have had a rise in this trend, and I want to ask the question, why is that? We're going to try to dot the I's and cross the T's on that topic today with some analysis provided by Citizens for Responsible Planning. I'm then going to take that analysis and compare and contrast it to the other lobbying group in town called Livable Charlottesville, led by Matthew Gillikin and Stephen Johnson. I'm going to ask the question, which of these two lobbying groups has the most correct position as it applies to Charlottesville City today? That's going to be the lead topic of the show. We'll parlay that topic into the Lewis Mountain neighborhood now having another listing hit the market, and then we'll close with Stefan Friedman owning a boatload of restaurants and asking the question, is he today's version of Corin Capshaw, Andy McClure, or the late, great Wilson Ritchie? A lot to cover on the show. So I'm going to get to the top topic today, and that's the analysis published over the weekend by Citizens for Responsible Planning. They have a headline, a look at the city and county jobs data. And this city and county jobs data is pretty thorough. It's a look at the quarterly census employment and wages garnered, and it's a look at basically data points that anyone can find online. And you see with the charts that we're going to put on screen, if you could put change in jobs 2023 versus 2019 on screen, Judah, the first chart, you'll see that the city is concerningly losing jobs. And you'll see Albemarle County is significantly gaining them. You also see that the city, the jobs that are coming to Charlottesville are in the hospitality, leisure, and food and beverage area. And in kind of a nutshell, the Citizens for Responsible Planning asked this question: the job growth that's coming to the city, hospitality, food and beverage, and the many hotels that are being birthed across the 10.2 square miles, are they truly strong for the economy? Are they further driving momentum behind affordability issues? And I'll take it a step further, part of the houseless crisis we have in our community. Bear with me here, okay? And you can put me on a one-shot, you can weave you in on a two-shot here. If the jobs that we're getting in Charlottesville are attracting folks filling food and beverage, travel and hospitality, by most accounts, these jobs are jobs that are an entry wage compensation point. If these jobs are being filled by folks fresh or new to the market, or folks from around Central Virginia, are they exasperating the houseless trend that's happening here? Would some of these jobs be filled by the hundreds of individuals we now see panhandling around the city in Albemarle County? Are we creating a problem of our own making? Furthermore, you see the wage graph that Citizens for Responsible Planning has created. The jobs, the compensation that comes from the category most prolific with job growth in the city, travel, food and beverage, hospitality, leisure, this compensation price point, not even close to being able to afford housing in this city. We're creating jobs in an ecosystem that cannot house the people that work the jobs.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? The top category of job growth in the city is at a wage or compensation price point that cannot afford to live in Charlottesville. Are we creating a snowball effect or our own worst nightmare? Jobs for people and folks that can't afford the housing around the jobs they have accepted. Where are the folks going to live if they're taking these jobs and can't afford to live in the direct area near them? Is this a catch-22? A double-edged sword? The proverbial who crossed the road first? The chicken and an egg? I'm going to take it a step further. The housing that we're building in Charlottesville, and everywhere you look, you're seeing people talking about the need for more density. You got how many apartments coming? I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine over the weekend. You have on the corner of Rio and John Warner Parkway, you got the Rio Point Apartments, 328 units. Dominion Realty Partners, Stony Point Development, and Quad Capital Partners are a part of that project. Right next to Dunlora, a Tony neighborhood over the city line. You have the 24 units in the Hopper behind the CVS and the Meadowbrook Shopping Center off Barracks Road in a Tony neighborhood. You got apartment complexes being spitballed all over the city and the urban ring. You got townhomes being birthed in Tony neighborhoods like Lewis Mountain, putting the fear of God into residents in Lewis Mountain. Now another unit on the market for sale, another house on the market for sale. This one's pretty plush. We talked about the one that sprung last week. I'm hearing left and right from Lewis Mountain neighborhood residents. Some championing the commentary we're offering here, some chastising the commentary we're offering here. I want to ask you, the viewer and listener, this question, two of them. If the jobs we're birthing cannot afford the housing in the ecosystem they're birthed within, what have we really created? Have we created economic development? Or have we created a problem that is perhaps not even manageable? Jump in with some perspective anywhere you want to go, and then viewers and listeners, I'll get to your comments live on air. Judah Wickower, show is yours.
I agree with what you're saying. The issue with the growth in terms of housing is I think that we're building the wrong type of housing, and there's no real incentive to build the low-income housing that they thought a change in zoning would bring. which is sad because, like you said, we're not gaining the types of jobs that pay the type of money that people need to live in this area. We're growing in the food and beverage, we're growing in health, and those are typically jobs that aren't going to pay what you need to buy or even rent a home around here. And with the way that some landlords structure their what do you call it? Their entry, paying for first, last, and security deposit.
Most do first and security deposit. Some do first, last, and security deposit.
With the prices we're talking about, I almost feel like that's a trap. And you're talking about what's happening with the homeless population. What happens when you come to Charlottesville looking for a job? Pay first and last if you're lucky, and or first and security deposit, and now you don't have money to move again. I mean, we see you can drive down Market Street and see people with a good number of belongings. There are a couple of them that were sleeping right at the entrance to the park.
The sleeping in the park, whether Sam Sanders, Charlottesville government,
they were in the park.
I saw it today. They're on the steps of the park, next to the library. The sleeping in the park has been banned. The community, the market has responded. And the market in this case is the houseless. They're now sleeping on the perimeter of the park. Not on the grass of the park, but on the steps and the cement around the park. To the point where the Albemarle Historical Society, which had a beautiful garden next to its building, has now had to gate off the garden and the greenway next to the Albemarle Historical Society and include signage, I saw it today, by the Albemarle Historical Society that says you cannot trespass in this green space anymore. It begs the question, the Citizens for Responsible Planning, a lobbying group, and Livable Charlottesville, a lobbying group, who is most right in this position? Livable Charlottesville, their mission is to advocate for policies to build an inclusive community in the Charlottesville area with affordable housing, sustainable transportation, and healthy neighborhoods that are welcoming to all. On paper, that sounds great. On paper, that sounds great. They push for the new zoning ordinance, and they push for flexibility with zoning to create more density, more housing supply. On paper, that sounds great. But the supply that's coming to market is far from affordable.
Yeah.
In fact, the requirements for projects that are greater than 10 units or greater are so
onerous,
insane, out of touch with reality, that the likelihood of those projects materializing in depth or significant number are few and far between.
Especially when they do show up, they get shouted down.
Yeah, great. Especially when they do show up, they get poo-pooed.
Yeah.
0 East High Street, Phase 3 Dairy Market. $7 million purchase for the Carlton Mobile Home Park. Those are three right there that would have created nearly 1,000 units probably in housing. Phase 3 Dairy Market was housing for 600 people.
Yeah.
0 East High Street was probably housing for 400 or 500 people.
And with those kinds of numbers, part of that is going to be affordable housing.
Right. There it is. We're creating in the city the jobs that can't afford to live in the city.
Yeah.
We're creating in the city the jobs that may yield actual houselessness. Think about that. The category that's growing from a job creation standpoint in Charlottesville City, you have the job chart, right?
Yeah. Which one do you want?
Put the change in jobs. Let's see. I'm looking at it right now. These two, the two last ones.
The two last ones?
The one with this one,
Yeah.
and then this one.
Annualized?
Annualized wage by industry.
All right. Here's the...
This is all on the crp-cville.org website. I would encourage, if they're listening to this program, the folks behind crp-cville.org to take this data and prominently feature it on the website, under the Research tab or on the Home tab. I don't think it's prominently featured currently on the website because it has its own unique URL. It was only sent to newsletter subscribers. Does City Council realize this? I'm asking a genuine question. Does City Council realize that the top category of job growth in the city is a category that cannot afford to live in the city?
I don't know.
No.
I know, it's a good question.
Does Sam Sanders understand this? Does Livable Charlottesville understand this?
So, I don't think it's entirely fair to...
I was hoping you would push back on that, on who is right, and
Yeah.
to pit those two against each other.
Because-
Gosh, I was hoping you would push back on that. Go ahead.
Because one is forward-looking and one is backward-looking.
Ooh, unpack that statement.
Citizens for Responsible Planning does an amazing job, and the analysis is top-notch. But it's looking backwards at data that we didn't have in some cases until just recently. Whereas what's the
Livable Charlottesville.
Livable Charlottesville is they're trying to change things and they're looking ahead and they don't always know, and I'm not absolving them of all the decisions they've made, but they're trying to make decisions to make changes for people for the better, and oftentimes that requires making a leap of faith, doing something that you hope will work in the future but you don't know 100% will have the desired effect. And so the two are very different in their outlook, and
Good analysis.
hopefully one can learn from the other
I think
and make changes.
Okay, you're
But
very
it's-
much on point.
But it's very hard to, it's very hard to look in the glass, the mirrored ball, and see the future and know that you're on the right track.
Fantastic take right there. I sincerely mean that. Citizens for Responsible Planning is looking at data that you said was rear view looking, and,
Yeah, it's-
and trying to use that data that was from yesterday to
Right.
try to anticipate or predict what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
Livable Charlottesville is a lobbying group rooted not in data, but in theory
That's fair.
and big picture vision.
Yeah.
If somehow we could have Citizens for Responsible Planning and Livable Charlottesville rendezvous,
Mesh.
I would say Livable Charlottesville needs more data.
Yeah.
I would say Citizens for Responsible Planning needs more. How would you describe it?
I think it needs to take a lot of the.
I would say Citizens for Responsible Planning needs more humanize, localize, and personalize.
And I think
Humanization.
I think it also needs to take the analysis and move it into the realm of how can this analysis help us make changes for the future. I think Citizen for Responsible Planning needs to rein in the pie-eyed what's the word I'm looking for? Just general, like, wanting to do something. And I get it, and I love it, but oftentimes they need to be reined in. And I think that...
What do you give them the hotel take? from Citizens for Responsible Planning's analysis. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. I found this intriguing. Did you?
Yeah, I think this was the one of the best parts of the article.
Read the article. It's in the comment section of my personal Facebook page, the comment section of the I Love Seville page. Judah, get it ready to go. The comment section of the I Love Seville group, the comment section of I Love Seville food, and the Twitter thread where this show is airing upon, the comment section of the LinkedIn page, and in the YouTube thread this show is airing upon. Judah, the show is yours.
All right. This comes towards the end of the article, and after talking about a few other things, it goes on to say, why did the NZO fail to take sufficient steps to deter new hotel construction on sites appropriate for multifamily development? A developer planned a new apartment building for the current site of the Artful Lodger, but recently decided to abandon those plans in favor of yet another hotel. So 100 units of housing lost, and another 50 underpaid hotel workers will come into the market looking for housing affordable to people making $35,000 a year. Another ideal spot for multifamily housing, the parking lot next to the flats at West Main has a development plan in place for another hotel.
And the city offers a bridge loan for Habitat for Humanity to keep the trailer park 65 trailers for 36 months, as opposed to allowing the free market to be itself a $7 million purchase to go through, knowing the $7 million purchase is probably going to turn into housing. And it keeps Bo Carrington, because of political bullying from Livable Charlottesville and other organizations, from materializing 250 apartments on the banks of the Rivanna River. Because of a political outcry.
Yeah.
And the 10th and Page neighborhood lobbies against Chris Henry in Phase 3 Dairy Market on Preston Avenue, not realizing that Phase 3 Dairy Market Preston Avenue is going to take pressure off the 10th and Page neighborhood.
Yeah.
Do you see the common denominator here? The city, in so many regards, is its own worst enemy.
Yeah. They haven't incentivized the creation of affordable housing. They've instead incentivized the creation of any housing, and any housing that's not affordable housing is never going to be affordable and is not going to help the people that need affordable housing. So you're creating homes for people that can afford to live here, which is a continually growing cost, and that's just raising the price of housing everywhere in Charlottesville.
When the category of growth, job-wise, is the travel, hotel, leisure, hospitality, food, and beverage.
Yeah.
When the family household income is $124,200, we're attracting jobs to a city that can't afford to live in the city, which could be further exacerbating the housing crisis and the houselessness crisis, the homeless crisis.
Yeah.
And exacerbating the affordable housing narrative.
And he makes a good point. They make a good point elsewhere in the article when they talk about the fact that a lot of the, I believe the NZO, is that for new zoning ordinance? The NZO was intended to cut down on excessive car driving, in part, to keep
the new zoning ordinance
to make it
was intended
more affordable for people outside of Charlottesville who are going to be working in Charlottesville at disposed, all these new jobs, to come and live in Charlottesville, so they're not
commuting from Buckingham, Fluvanna, Louisa, Orange Green.
The problem is the numbers show that the jobs are leaving Charlottesville and going to the county. So if you start bringing more people to live in Charlottesville, you're just creating more commuters who are going to be driving their cars
into the city.
Jobs outside of Charlottesville.
Take it a step further. You're on point today. Judah. Take it a step further. The housing that's being created by the new zoning ordinance, because the affordability requirements are so stringent, are housing that's expensive.
Yeah.
And housing that's expensive is purchased by whom?
People with money.
People that money have what?
High-paying jobs.
And how do they get around to those high-paying jobs?
cars.
Exactly. People that can afford the housing that's being created in the city are not going to be taking public transportation.
Right.
They're just going to put more vehicles on the road. The NZO is backfiring. It's backfiring because it's not creating the housing for the jobs that are coming to the market.
It didn't incentivize. I don't know how you incentivize creating low-income housing.
Certainly not by this requirement. Go to my Gmail, type in the search bar, affordable housing, look for the subject line, affordable housing requirements. Find the email that I sent myself on June 6th at 12:58 p.m. during the show on Thursday of that month. Affordable housing requirements in the city of Charlottesville. 10% of units on developments of 10 or more must be affordable at 60% AMI for rentals for 99 years. Who in God's name is going to do that?
Who can afford to make it affordable at either end? And as I was reading something somewhere else, setting something at 60% of AMI is still going to be cutting out a lot of people who don't even, who are making what, 30% of AMI or less.
Let's just use the HUD family household income, and that's not a perfect number for this. 75G, right there. Family household. That's going to cut out a boatload of people. Comments coming in quickly. This one from Deep Throat. He said he read that data from Citizens for Responsible Planning, and it may be backward looking as of today, but he remembers the Citizens for Responsible Planning making claims like this in 2021, and subsequent data has supported many of its predictions.
Interesting.
John Blair watching the program. The single biggest problem with Charlottesville and Albemarle's economic development has always been the area's discouragement of manufacturing. In the early 1990s, a carpet plant was proposed for Keswick that would have employed hundreds of people. A mobilization effort killed it. Just think of the amazing manufacturing enterprises that have been announced around the county due to the CHIPS Act. Not a peep about getting those 60,000 plus per year jobs to the area, even though it would be a great spot for one of those plants. I remember when the Deschutes Brewery wanted to open south on Route 29 South in the urban ring next to Virginia Eagle Distribution. The county mobilized against it, and that would have been hundreds of jobs.
Yeah.
The city of Charlottesville, while tourism is a critical component to Central Virginia, may have to ask itself this question. If we continue to grow because of tourism, we're going to attract population to the city that are going to fill jobs in an area they can't afford to live within. And if you're a $10 or $12 an hour, this is a sincere question for you. Sincere question for the viewer and listener. Judah, if someone is working in food and beverage or hospitality and is compensated $10 or $12 an hour, are they making less than panhandlers on the downtown mall who have no place to live?
Ouch. Quite possibly. I don't know if you've ever talked to...
And the reason I asked that question is the person is having to get to and from work. Mm-hmm. That takes time to get to and from work. Either public transportation, time, car, fuel costs. Time to get home, clothes to wash, uniform to wash. Are they making less? And if they're making less, how close is that to houselessness?
I'm sure oftentimes they are.
And how does the owner in these business models afford to pay more where they're struggling to even keep the lights on? How many restaurants have we talked about this year alone that have closed?
It's growing daily.
Daily, because the margins are so slim. are we making our own problem? That's why 2 weeks ago on this very talk show, I asked and I pushed back on the city's economic development plan. A plan that was rooted in diversity, equity, and inclusion. That was the mission of the plan. DEI was the mission of the plan. I didn't see a tangible path of attack in the city's economic development plan for 2024. I saw a word salad.
That's often the case when.
But that's not the case at other jurisdictions.
That's often the case when your focus is DEI and not on job growth, because oftentimes they're looking in different directions and wanting different things.
Vanessa Parkhill watching the show right now. Queen of Earlysville. Vanessa Parkhill says, I'm afraid Livable Seville may struggle to find data to support their theories because I'm not sure there are examples of their types of initiatives that have truly been successful in eliminating problems. For example, look at Seattle, Chicago, San Francisco. Lots of money thrown at homelessness, crime, and substance abuse, yet the problems continue to grow. She also says, Vanessa Parkhill, I'm certainly not an expert on this topic, but I've yet to see anyone provide an example of where left-leaning, socialist-leaning policies have produced positive results for their communities. Vanessa, I mentioned this live on air. We're going to go to Danville and Travis Hackworth next. I mentioned this live on air. Thank you for watching. Period. Enter, publish, send to Queen of Earlysville. This is on the I Love Seville group from Travis Hackworth. Travis Hackworth is a smart guy. Vanessa Parkhill, smart viewer and listener. Travis Hackworth says, we are having the same issue in Danville, Jerry. Most incoming or existing jobs available are what are considered low wage, and the developers are only building homes that no one local can really afford to buy or rent. I get that all jobs, Travis Hackworth says, are needed, but attracting and building stuff above the median level is great and improves the city overall. The same would apply to Seville, but it's undeniable that in doing so, you leave an ever-growing swatch of people behind. And with the housing inventory being old or non-existent and supply chain issues being what they are, it's hard to push the prices down fast enough to the people who need the relief the most in some way. Damn good comment from Travis. Travis, excellent comment. Dan Vegas having the same issue. You know why Dan Vegas is having the issue of attracting this similar new job growth? The same jobs in Dan Vegas as Charlottesville? Caesars Casino.
Yeah.
Caesars Casino coming to Dan Vegas. Yes, Caesars Casino is good for economic development, but it's this kind of job.
Yeah.
We are making our own problem. Mm-hmm. Right? And I'm not sure what the answer is, to be honest with you. I mean, the only answer that I see, and I've continued to say this on the talk show, is to incentivize white-collar employers to set up headquarters in the city with tax breaks tied to hiring citizens that live within the city. You can set up your shop, your headquarters, in city limits, and we'll tax incentivize you to do so on the caveat or the condition that you hire a percentage of your workforce from Charlottesville right now and prove to us that you did said hiring.
Yeah.
Same tax breaks, excuse me. We just saw Home Depot get $750,000 in tax breaks from Albemarle County.
Yeah.
And Albemarle County said, we'll give you $750,000 in tax breaks, Home Depot, despite a market cap of well over $300 billion, despite the fact that you're in the Forbes 500 at a ranking of 23. And we're going to do it because you're going to improve road connectivity. You're going to take an eyesore, a portion of Fashion Square Mall, and make it legit. And you're going to hire over 100 people. So we'll give you these tax breaks. Jurisdictions can do that. Yeah. Hire within the city and we'll give you a break. Mm-hmm. Start taking an economic development plan and stop using word salad political propaganda and what you saw that evening on the cable news channels of your choice and say, you know what, I'm not going to appease the small population that's loud, the minority population, and by minority I mean small in size, that's vocal and organized and strategize and bullying us on the dais. Instead, I'm going to use data and put a plan in place that creates actual, tangible results. It's time we push back. And speaking of pushing back, speaking of change, Judah, another home. Ginny Hu, thank you for the retweet. Bill McChesney, thank you for watching. Viewers and listeners like Logan Wells Claylow, thank you for watching the program. Another home in the posh, prestigious Tony Lewis Mountain neighborhood hits the market. We predicted this was going to happen. Years ago on this talk show, we predicted that this neighborhood was in the eye of the new zoning ordinance, then the draft zoning ordinance storm. Now the new home is 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,754 square feet, 2025 Thompson Road, Thomson Road. Fantastic listing by Kristen Streed of Loring Woodruff. Beautiful listing, just on the market, freshly new on the market. Branding, marketing, beautiful. Photos, gorgeous. Copy of this listing, on point. Listing price, $990,000, right on point. Is it a coincidence that is it a coincidence that a couple of weeks after 303 Alderman Road, the plans came out that there was going to be 6 townhomes built in the place of a single-family detached home, that we've now had 2025 Thomason Road hit the market at $990,000? We've now had 307 Alderman Road, the home right next to it, hit the market at $925,000? That we had 2003 Lewis Mountain Road hit the market 9 days ago and is now under contract? Is that a coincidence?
I doubt it.
Or is that the OG in Lewis Mountain saying, good Lord, this neighborhood's in the eye of the storm, like the I Love Seville show Jerry and Judah said 24 months ago would happen? Kevin Higgins and Bill McChesney, we appreciate your commentary on the I Love Seville, on the Jerry Miller comment section of Facebook. Talking Hillsdale, Home Depot. Kevin Higgins knows Greenwood like the Pope knows holy water. Bill McChesney, the mayor of McIntyre. I'm going to ask you this question. You got 2003 Lewis Mountain pending, 307 Alderman Road for sale, and now the newly minted 2025 Thompson Road, $990K asking, all in the market right now. You want to put a bet? You know I love prop bets. You know I'm a gambling man. Gambling man over here. Wife knows I'm a gambling man. You want to make a prop bet on how many other Lewis Mountain homes hit the market between now and close of business 2024?
By the end of the year? Yeesh. How many houses are in the neighborhood?
A lot. I couldn't tell you that number. I bet you Deep Throat could give me that number. How many houses in Lewis? You would have to scour the GIS for that. I don't know how many of them are. I'm doing a quick Google search. I don't think Google's going to pop this up. No. Certainly not on the fly for us right now. You want to do a prop bet? Not including the ones that are pending or active right now. If I put the over-under at 10, would you take the over or under?
Damn. By in the next 3
September,
months,
October, November,
4 months?
December. You got 120 days.
I would take the over.
You would take the over on 10?
I think I would, yeah.
You would take the over on 10? I'd be willing to take that bet for a bottle of brown
Man,
juice.
I don't know.
10 is a push, over on 10, you win. Under on 10, I win, not including the actives or pending that are on the market right now. You're saying between now and close of business 2024, 10 additional houses will be listed. No. You're saying 11 or more additional houses will be listed. I'm saying 9 or less will be listed. You want to do that. No pressure, not peer pressuring you. You could easily say no if you don't want to take this bet. There's no problem if you take
I don't think
no.
I want to take that bet.
What's that?
I don't think I want to take that bet.
You sure you don't want to take that bet?
11 sounds like a lot when you put it that way. I'm not sure
What if I bump that down to 9?
What?
10 and
9
over
up?
for you, 8 and under for me.
I don't know. That's still a lot.
All right. No peer pressure. No pressure. Follow what happens in that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, the closest neighborhood to grounds, maybe the front end of Jefferson Park Avenue is closer, or a portion of 14th Street. Right? But what neighborhood is closer than that? Walk to old dorms, new dorms, Scott Stadium, JPJ, Newcomb, in a couple of minutes. Next topic. Put those lower thirds on screen. We try to give you an array of topics for you to chitter chatter about. Mondays are great for commentary. I got a supervisor and a counselor watching the program right now. I just got a comment come in via Facebook DM. On the bet, it won't be 10 listed, but it will be 35% of households have a discussion about it. If we could track households that are having discussions on it, I would bet you. There goes Kid Ashley, the fabulous restaurateur. She's, you know what? She should be on the short list, Kid Ashley, of the most impactful restaurant owners in the city.
No doubt.
We helped broker the Tangerine Kitchen deal in the old Croby's location in the Food Lion Shopping Center down at Avon Extended. If I could somehow track how many households that are having the conversation in Lewis Mountain, should we list our house, I would bet you it would be, according to this DM, this guy is 100% right. 35% more easily.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And you know when the conversation is really going to start?
Once those buildings start going up.
Once the first shovel goes into the ground and you see the first piece of heavy equipment go down a 2-lane road that's 25 miles an hour. That's not supposed to be a construction site for 18 months.
Yeah.
That's when it's going to happen. People are going to be like, what the hell's going on? There's potholes everywhere. There's dust everywhere. Why is my HVAC clogged with dust? Why are my ducts? Why am I inhaling dust? What's that noise? What's that racket? Why am I being woken up?
Where are all of our neighbors going?
What happened to our buddies?
That's kind of sad.
We shouldn't be joking.
I mean, how long before this becomes purely a student-rented series of duplexes and townhomes?
Here's a comment from JB, John Blair. Sober stat for you. Last year, the publicly traded home builders, Toll Brothers, D.R. Horton, et cetera, accounted for 54% of new housing starts in America. Quite frankly, the truth is this. Small builders can simply build single-family houses with high profit margins. Unless and until Charlottesville or Danville or others can attract the publicly traded builders who have an ability to scale for a volume strategy, there won't be housing built for low-wage workers. Amen, John Blair. He's 100% right. Have you noticed that Ryan Holmes is pieced out of the city? And have you noticed that Ryan Holmes is not showing nearly the attention it once did to Albemarle County?
Yeah.
And have you also noticed that Stanley Martin is not showing nearly the attention it once did to the city or Albemarle County? But Stanley Martin's building left and right in Richmond, Virginia. Left and right in Richmond, Virginia. Stefan Friedman. Is he the most influential restaurant owner in the greater Charlottesville, Virginia area? First, before I can answer this question, I need to rattle off the brands that Stefan Friedman owns. He owns the following in the city of Charlottesville. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Ace Biscuit and Barbecue. Bonnie and Reed, the old Brasserie Saison. Ace Biscuit and Barbecue over there on Brian Ashworth's old stomping grounds off of Harris. Bonnie and Reed on the downtown mall.
Yep.
Draft Tap Room, which is close to opening, dude. He says it's going to open next month. You see how much work they're doing in there?
I haven't gone back by there.
You should go take a look.
Took photos the last time.
It's got an ABC permit on the window now.
Nice.
He says it's opening next month.
It's definitely going to need that.
Draft Tap Room. He owns Vitae Spirits. He's part owner in Little John's on the UVA corner. He says he's going to convert the Michael's Bistro location above Little John's on the UVA corner into a Draft Tap Room 2.0. That's genius move. Taking Draft Tap Room, opening it on the downtown mall, and taking the old craft beer spot, Michael's Bistro, and opening a Draft Tap Room 2.0 above Little John's. This is a genius move. Yeah. This was in the Daily Progress today. Ladies and gentlemen, he's got a sushi speakeasy in the Vitae Spirits tasting room. There's 6 or 7 seats for this sushi speakeasy that's unnamed. He's got a genius chef that formerly was tied to Lemongrass, the restaurant. He sold Lemongrass as the sushi virtuoso.
Is that going to be more of a temporary pop-up?
It started as a pop-up. Had so much success, they're going to make it permanent. And once it's become super permanent, they're going to sell tickets for the 6 seats, 7 seats. You're going to have to buy a seat in advance.
Well, I guess I won't be going.
And the menu is chef-driven, meaning he determines what you eat.
Right.
There's no menu. Mm-hmm. You buy tickets to the speakeasy, and you eat whatever the chef gives you. But he promises it's going to be the freshest ingredients when it ties to sushi. This is the same chef at one time who was behind 10 on the downtown mall. Stefan Friedman has Ace Biscuit and Barbecue 1, Bonnie and Reed 2, Draft Tap Room Downtown Mall 3, Draft Tap Room UVA Corner 4, Vitae Spirits 5, Little John 6, a Sushi Speakeasy 7, and I heard he owns Licking Hole Creek Brewery.
Wow.
Is this the most influential restaurateur in the city of Charlottesville? It used to be Corin Capshaw. Mm-hmm. He's not in the restaurant game as much. It used to be the late, great Wilson Ritchie. He's in heaven right now, drinking some whiskey, eating a steak, and finishing it off with more whiskey. Who is it? It used to be Annie McClure. Mr. McClure, a friend of the program, owns Citizen Burger Bar, Tavern and Grocery, the Biltmore, 3.
Until recently, the Virginian.
The Virginian, still owns the Virginian, still owns Citizen Burger Bar. You're thinking about him selling the Biltmore. He sold the Biltmore to his manager who converted it and rebranded it to Ellie's Country Club. Don't understand why you'd make that move.
Right.
It's either Stefan Friedman or who just walked by, Kid Ashley. Kid Ashley knows restaurants inside and out. Monsoon, Coconuts, Pineapples, Maple Pine, Tangerine Kitchen. She's got 5. I hope I'm not missing any of Kit's. I should know that.
Dino's been doing okay himself, isn't he?
Dino's crushing it. I got a 2 o'clock with Dino. Monsoon, Pineapples. She's got Maple Pine, Coconuts, Tangerine. You're looking at your number 2 slot right there, Kid Ashley. From a brand standpoint, Stefan Friedman making moves, dude. 2 Draft Tap Rooms? Props to you. All right, we'll dot the I's and cross the T's. Give the update on UVA's freedom of speech as you put the lower third on screen.
This is, I guess you could call it a after-the-fact adjustment to their policies, and is probably probably wise, just to keep from any further problems cropping up. They've basically started to update, or not started to. They're updating their policies on expressive activities on grounds, is what they're calling it. And they talk a lot about, President Jim Ryan is talking about the right to free expression and free inquiry and being foundational to our democracy and to UVA, and so on and so forth.
Long story short, this is what they're doing. They're keeping people from sleeping outside overnight, and they're limiting the window where you can protest time-wise on grounds.
Yeah, you can't sleep on...
That's the long story short.
You can't sleep on the grass. You can't have a tent up 24 hours a day.
You can't sleep overnight on grounds, anywhere.
Yeah.
With a tent or without a tent.
Right.
Can't do it. You do it, you get popped. You want to protest, that's fine. But you're not going to protest overnight. That's what UVA did. They basically said, you can protest, just do it during business hours. You can protest, just make sure it doesn't happen when people go to sleep. You want to go to sleep? You better do it in a house or an apartment.
Yeah.
And if you do it outside, you're going to get popped. That's what they did.
No tents without permits.
That means the pro-Palestine protest from this past May never, ever could have materialized under these rules and regulations. It never could have lasted that long. They would have, if they wanted to be a pro-Palestine protest on UVA, they would have said, it's time to pack up the tents. Can't be here no more. Got to go home. Got to do it again tomorrow.
Which they could have done.
Could have done. But that would have probably defused momentum.
Possibly.
Would have defused momentum. If UVA can say, you can't sleep here overnight, why didn't the city or the county do that? Supreme Court says you can do it. I get that comparing UVA to the city ain't comparing apples to apples.
Yeah.
Get that. County, city, Big Brother is saying don't sleep here overnight. The last topic today, as you get the lower third on screen, this will be a topic we discuss with Jerry Ratcliffe on the Jerry and Jerry Show tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. Anthony Calandria is named your starting quarterback at the University of Virginia football team. The second-year gunslinger from Florida, your starting quarterback on a football team that must win ball games and win ball games right now. Tony Elliott, ladies and gentlemen, his seat is hot. And anyone who says that his seat ain't hot ain't reading the tea leaves correctly. Anthony Calandria, the best of luck. Tony Elliott, in a lot of ways, his job security is riding the right arm, the right shoulder, the right elbow, and the right hand of a 19 or 20-year-old kid. Such is life in college football. Judah Wickower on point today. Yours truly, Jerry Miller, the I Love CVille Show, Monday through Friday, 12:30 to 1:30, presented by Pro Renata Brewery and Mexicali Restaurant. Thank you kindly for joining us. So long, everybody.